Madison Square Garden, first semifinal, Pittsburgh and Boston College. The Oakland Zoo is in the house tonight as the Panthers try to advance to yet another Big East Championship title game. For 2 days, New York City has celebrated 25 years of Big East hoops.
And it's all just a little bit of history repeating.
Notre Dame escapes, and Villanova pulls off the upset. Boston College comes back to win. The Villanova Wildcats, their second upset in as many nights. Now, only 4 remain. Rugged and no-nonsense, Pitt is focused on a 4th straight title game. Standing in their path, the BC team with a chip on its shoulder. With their superstar out, UConn proved they are far more than a one-man act. For 2 days, Villanova refused to lose. Now they're 40 minutes from an improbable dream.
And it's all just a little bit of history repeating.
Welcome to Madison Square Garden in New York City, where tonight's Big East Championship semifinals are available in stunning ESPN HD, brought to you by Philips and Best Buy. All a part of ongoing coverage. Championship Week presented by 7-Up. We're here at the Big East Championship, and we're down to 4. Semifinal number 1, the upstart Boston College Eagles taking on one of the very best teams in the nation, the defending Big East Tournament champion, Pitt Panthers. Our second semifinal tonight, number 2 seed UConn. We don't know yet if Emeka Okafor is going to play as they take on the upset-minded Villanova Wildcats. So look at the Star Watch tonight for Pitt and BC. And this is Len Elmore basketball. We're talking about some strong guys on the inside.
Well, sophomore Craig Smith, first-team all-conference performer, a most physical player on the offensive glass. He can take punishment as well as dish it out. And he'll probably be matched up against Siobhan Troutman, a junior, Pitt's perpetual motion machine on the glass. And he's an excellent defender. And I think Troutman's got some old-school tricks up his sleeve for Mr. Smith.
Pittsburgh's won 104 games in the last 4 years. They still have a shot at a number 1 seed. They lost so much from last year, yet they might even be a better team this year.
Well, they certainly are, and a lot of it has to do with the experience that they have. 2 guys, particularly the seniors, Jerron Brown, as well as Julius Page. They've been in this position before, and whenever you can point to some deja vu, it's always a benefit. You look at the system that's been inserted that these guys have been able to play in, and it's paid tremendous dividends over the last 4 years.
Now, a lot of teams don't really like playing Pittsburgh because of how physical the Panthers are, but the Eagles with Craig Smith and Yuka Agbai and Nate Dornicamp, they almost seem to welcome a bit of a slugfest with the Panthers.
Well, they've shown that they can bump and grind. 21 offensive rebounds against Syracuse yesterday. They play a tremendous brand of interior basketball.
One meeting during the regular season, Pittsburgh won at home by 10, but Boston College was leading that game at Pittsburgh with 3.5 minutes to go. And we are underway with the Panthers wearing the home white, getting the opening possession.
And Boston College, very much underrated, playing their man-to-man. They will go to a matchup zone from time to time. It gives you a man look, but they'll switch on everything.
Jerron Brown, 5th-year senior, kicks it out into the corner to Carl Krauser. And the rebound to Sean Marshall. Very young Boston College team. 2 sophomores, 2 freshmen, and a 5th-year senior in Yuka Agbai in the starting lineup. Great hustle there by Julius Page. The tie-up, though, and BC will retain possession. Let's check out the starting lineup for Al Skinner's Eagles, and what a job Al Skinner has done this year. Craig Smith is really the key guy for Boston College, a sophomore and a first-team All-Big East performer, averaging better than 17 points and 8 rebounds per game. I love Jay Billis's line yesterday when he said trying to get around him is like trying to get around a Volkswagen. 6'7", about 260 pounds. Stolen by Jerron Brown. He got his shorts grabbed there by Dudley, who recovers and blocks the shot. But the Eagles got away with one right there.
Again, we talk about defense in Pittsburgh, and Jerron Brown, uncanny knack for anticipating. There's the grab of the back of Jerron Brown's shirt, and that's happened throughout this series. A lot of teams grabbing at shirts. I'm surprised the officials haven't done a better job of identifying that. Those types of things are intentional fouls that should be called.
Here's Krauser, second-team All-Big East performer, as was Jerron Brown, number 4. No first-teamers for Pitt, but they're so balanced, so deep, they really spread the wealth around on this team.
Yeah, for Pitt, they're not so much about individual goals. It's about team goals.
Brown on the wing, driving in, using his offhand, his right hand, misses the shot, and another rebound for Marshall.
Again, Pittsburgh always plays, or primarily plays, a man-to-man defense. You know, they'll get up in your grill. They'll play from the waist down, try to work you on your legs, try to beat you to spots.
Turnaround jumper, a little bit strong for Agbai. And back come the Panthers again. This is a game that whatever the over-under is, take the under. This is not going to be a game that gets into the 80s as Page misses. Just the style of play that both teams play. Lewis hinted at the point, a sophomore. Number 3 is Jared Dudley, unanimous choice for the Big East All-Rookie team. What a find he was for Boston College this year.
There's the matchup we talked about, Shavon Troutman and Craig Smith. Already, they bumped shoulders and hips and everything else.
Hit it on the drive is fouled. It'll go against Jerron Brown. There's Craig Smith. Remember the Big East All-Rookie team last year, and a guy who's had some huge games in the Big East Championship in his 2 years here in the league.
I'll tell you what, when you watch these two teams play, it's the patience that really impresses you, particularly with a young team like Boston College. You know, they won't just take the first shot available most of the time. They'll look to continue to work it, continue to try to get it inside to get the best possible shot. That's always been Al Skinner's philosophy, and these young guys have bought in.
And it knocks him down. So more than 2 minutes in, and we finally have our first points of the game as you look at some very familiar names in the Pittsburgh starting lineup, including Chris Taft, the Rookie of the Year in the Big East, although the BC folks thought that Jared Dudley maybe should have gotten it. They were both unanimous choices to the Big East All-Rookie team.
Jared Dudley is a terrific player, but Chris Taft has had such an impact, such a visible impact on the Pitt attack.
Krauser gets free around a screen and ties the game at 2. A native of the Bronx, very, very excited to be playing the Big East tournament back here in New York City. Here's Craig Smith. This is the matchup Len was talking about, and Troutman takes it away from him.
Talk about those old school tricks. Troutman kept his hands down again, playing below the waist on defense.
The Krauser floater won't stay down, but he draws the foul.
And you watch Troutman on Smith. Watch his hands down low. Tries to bring the ball down in order to drive, and Troutman there waiting for him. Again, that's experience. And we talk about how hard Shavon Troutman works. We're going to see that time and time again. Craig Smith is going to have to make an adjustment.
So here's Krauser, voted the most improved player in the league this year. He was a backup and then occasionally also played with Brandon Knight last year. And became a starter this year. And I think the Pitt folks knew how good he was, but maybe the rest of us didn't, because he only played about 18, 20 minutes a game last year. But he's become a star now in the Big East. That X you see, that's the X as in the last letter in the Bronx. One of the signs that he makes a lot every time he does something good.
Just letting you know the Bronx is in the house.
Doris Burke will tell us a little bit more about that later on tonight. Connecticut and Villanova in semifinal number 2 later on tonight here on ESPN. Way off with the jumper is Marshall. BC beat Georgetown and then Syracuse to get this far. Troutman inside, and he doesn't offer to miss from that close.
Well, he changed his shot a little bit, which is unusual for Shavon Troutman. Usually he just attacks that rim with reckless abandon.
Jamie Dixon, the first-year head coach of the Pitt Panthers, an assistant under Ben Howland, and a coach that the players wanted the school to hire as the head coach. They did, and they've had extraordinary success this year. 28-3. Nice spin move by Agbai as he lays it in with the left hand.
And that time, Chris Taft fell asleep at the switch a little bit as Agbai got up to the high post to receive. And by the time Taft recovered, Agbai was in his move.
Again, Boston College likes to score inside. In their win over Syracuse yesterday, they hit one 10-foot jump shot. That was by Craig Smith. Everything else was in the paint or from the free throw line.
And that's that interior focus and that patience that they need. And boy, Jerron Brown starting to light up a little bit. Pittsburgh can certainly use somebody who can be effective from the perimeter, kind of spread the defenses a little bit, and that allows Taft to work.
Just 22% from 3 on the year is Brown, but he's shooting the ball with a lot of confidence here in this tournament. Here's Dudley, the outstanding freshman, one of 3 California kids playing for Boston College. Agbaye over Taft, too strong.
A much better job by Chris Taft that time. He also got down low, center of gravity low, so he can move his feet and stay with Agbaye off the bounce.
Krauser baseline, and a foul is called. Pat Driscoll working along with Reggie Greenwood. And Johnson, neutral site game for Boston College in Pittsburgh, but it's got to feel like a home game for a lot of these Panthers. With more on that, let's bring in Doris Burke.
Well, Dan, the road from the Big Apple to the Steel City has certainly proven to be the path to success for the Pittsburgh basketball team. When you look at the makeup of this team, Carl Krauser from the Bronx, Chris Taft from Brooklyn, and Mark McCarroll from Queens. All of this, of course, being established by the relationships of assistant coach Barry Rorson. He went to the same high school as Taft, and obviously, if you can recruit this area, you can build a successful basketball program.
There's no doubt about that. Other Big East schools in the last 5-10 years, Len, whether it's Villanova, and we'll see a lot of New York City kids in the game too, whether it's Pittsburgh, they're starting to get into the city and get kids that, you know, maybe 10-15 years ago were automatic for St. John's, but the climate has changed.
Well, and it's absolutely important to be able to get these young players out of the Big East territory. They grow up watching Big East basketball, want to be able to play right away. And you talk about Barry Rorson. I mean, his roots are so deep, having gone to high school and college at St. Francis of Brooklyn here and played ball there. So he's really established a network, and it's paying off.
Steve Haley, a freshman, is into the game for Boston College at the point now after 2 quick fouls on Lewis Hinton. Panthers on the glass, but they can't convert. Pittsburgh, a very, very good rebounding team, but BC can hold their own with all of their size as well. Marshall from the wing. And he's going to hear the air ball chant the rest of the way from the Oakland Zoo, one of the toughest student sections to deal with anywhere in America.
Yeah, but I've seen Sean Marshall play. That's not going to deter him. He's a terrific street shooter. Once he gets the feeling, he's going to keep letting it go.
Agbaye called for the foul. Thought he had a clean block on Taft.
Well, we told you it would be physical out there. Look at Siobhan Troutman and Craig Smith. Just hips and arms, and you know, that's the clean way. No swinging of elbows, just bumping bodies. And believe it or not, those guys thrive on that stuff.
Well, I know you thrive on that. You're as excited for this game as any game that we've done this week, because you said it's kind of old school, pound the ball inside, let the big men do their thing basketball.
Yeah, plenty of hips and shoulders. You want to play in that paint, you better bring your armor.
Troutman and Smith both welcome the challenge. Craig Smith with the rebound. He's got back-to-back double-doubles in the first 2 games. Keep in mind, it is rare for a Big East team to play 4 days in a row, to have to play on day 1 and to get to the championship game. And nobody's ever played 4 days in a row and won the championship game. Both Boston College and Villanova trying to change that history here this week.
You look at the patience exhibited by Boston College. They keep running those flex cuts, the picks down, the picks across, trying to get people open. That time, Smith just missed a gimme.
Well, statistically, Len, no team in the Big East has a higher percentage of assists compared to their baskets than Boston College. So that speaks to what you're saying. They keep looking for the high percentage shot. Here's Troutman. He's a master of the high percentage shot.
And how about Krauser with that pass that split the defense on that? Nice little bounce pass. Just fundamentally sound basketball by both of these teams on the offensive end.
Smith inside. Offensive rebound for Dudley. Blocked and stripped clean by Siobhan Troutman. Krauser, the hesitation, the spin. He got it blocked. Taft on the glass, and now Smith brings it down.
Well, Taft is getting there. He's just got to take his time, bring it down, gather, and then power up.
Agbaye for 3. And the rebound to Jerron Brown. He had a terrific game against Virginia Tech yesterday. 20 points, and he filled up the stat sheet in a number of different ways. Even with all the publicity he's now getting, he still is an underrated player, what he does for the Panthers. Here he is on the wing. Boy, somebody's got to put a body on Taft or he's going to have a huge night once these tips start going in.
Yeah, but the young fella has to understand he gains possession and power is up. He'll get to the line as well. And Steve Haley, terrific young freshman, filled in admirably when Lewis Hinnant, the starting point guard, went down.
30-second timeout for Pittsburgh. Nate Dornicamp, another big fella, 7-footer, will check into the game for the Eagles in just a moment. Later tonight, Championship Week presented by 7-Up continues with the games on ESPN and ESPN2. It's the second semi from the Big East Championship right here at MSG. Villanova and Connecticut. Okafor status uncertain. This game also available in ESPN HD. Over on ESPN2 at 9 Eastern. The ACC quarters continue. Maryland taking on number 14, Wake Forest. For more night. He did go through the shoot-around, go through the walkthrough for Connecticut today. He didn't practice yesterday when he was getting looked at by a doctor. I don't know if we should read into that he is going to play. As soon as we find out, we'll pass it along to you.
What we need to do is peek into that garment bag to see if there are any street clothes in there. If it's a uniform, we know what's going on.
Brown throws it away. He thought Troutman was going to kind of lean in toward the basket. Troutman complaining that he got held.
Well, that was excellent position by Siobhan Troutman. Caught Craig Smith on his high side and sealed him off, but couldn't move to the ball quickly enough.
Mark McCarroll into the game and out for the Panthers, a much improved player, and this is junior season. We're at number 21. Here's Dornicamp. The big guy can pass from up top, and he sets a mean screen as well. He's just in there to bang around.
Nice job by McCarroll in pressuring that pass, and Dornicamp couldn't look inside.
Haley off balance. Putback no good for Dudley. Boy, Dudley is a menace on the offensive glass, though. Remember, he had 8 of them, 8 offensive rebounds against Syracuse yesterday.
And all it is a point of development for both Dudley and Taft. They've been able to knife through, get offensive rebounds, but they have not been able to convert. Got to be able to take their time, recognize they've got some strength and explosiveness, and utilize it.
Here comes Julius Page. They leave him alone. Three's not there. 2 Pittsburgh players battling for the offensive rebound, and Brown kicks it back out to Krauser. And right now, too easy both ways, Len. These offensive rebounds. Both teams got to do a better job on the defensive glass.
Well, I tell you, they're trying to block out, but it's so physical out there, and the offensive rebounders are really cognizant of beating the defender to the spot.
McCarroll, no. Rebound Smith. Yeah, easy for me to say, never have played, huh? Inside, Troutman picks up the garbage and lays it in. Pitt by 6.
And for those of you who think that, that was a lucky play, that's what Siobhan Troutman does. He will stay, he will battle you once you get possession, and a lot of times he comes up victorious, knocking the ball loose and converting.
Haley trying to turn the corner on Krauser. And now Troutman is called for the foul, reaching around Smith. That will be his first. Midway through a low-scoring first half, Panthers by 6. A studio update, some NFL news on the other side. Well, I'm sitting beside a Yankee fan, so I don't know if he thinks that he should have stuck with the baseball, but it sure seems like Drew Henson made a good decision going back to football. It'll be exciting to see him suit up for the Cowboys.
Yeah, it'll be nice to watch him throw the ball as a quarterback as opposed to a third baseman, but
got a chance. I actually met him about a month ago, just before he started doing all those workouts for the NFL scouts, and I'm sure it's an exciting time for him to get back to football.
And back to basketball.
Back to basketball. Pittsburgh and BC. Panthers leading by 6. Krauser out defending on Haley. Yuri Dimitris, number 3, is checked into the game for the first time for Pittsburgh. Nice move by Smith. Drawing the foul. It was Dimitris coming down to help, who gets whistled.
Well, the difference is Siobhan Troutman on the bench. Mark McCarroll given the task, the unenviable task of guarding Craig Smith. And obviously McCarroll, not as disciplined a defender as Siobhan Troutman, left his feet on the pump fake. I don't know. Mark McCarroll's given up an awful lot of poundage there. Siobhan Troutman, more of a match.
First point for Smith. Pretty impressive numbers for the first team all Big East performers. Some of the BC coaches were saying before the game, Al Skinner goes out to California, looks at a guy like Smith and thinks to himself, Craig Smith with that body, he doesn't want to run up and down the floor playing Pac-10 basketball. That's a Big East body right there, and that's one of his selling points when he convinces Smith that Boston College is the place for him.
Well, absolutely was, and Smith went to Worcester Academy in Massachusetts, so he had a taste of those New England winters, and it didn't seem to hurt him any.
Torrey Morris on the offensive glass. Another Pittsburgh senior chipping in. Morris's minutes down this year with the arrival of Taft, but he makes a good play there. Now Smith. I mean, that is a bullish move to the basket.
Well, I tell you what, Craig Smith recognizes the mismatch, recognizes that he better make hay while he can, as long as Shavon Troutman's on the bench. And that's just a terrific job of him just using his assets.
There are a lot of times you'll hear an analyst like Len say, they got to get the ball inside, take advantage of the matchup. Boston College knows how to take advantage of the matchup. Page nearly turned it over. Krauser, long two, not there. Smith with a rebound. He's starting to take over at both ends. A little bit out of control is Jermaine Watson, a junior from Dorchester, Mass, number 4. BC goes about 8 or 9 deep.
And right now, I think they just need to continue to go where Craig Smith is, because that's how they're scoring points. Until Pittsburgh can adjust, stay with the big fella.
Why not? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And the big fella knocks it down. All of a sudden, he's got 6, and they are all since Shavon Troutman went out of the game. Chris Taft is getting ready to check back in. So BC back within 2. Now Troutman's going to come back into the game as well, as we see him head to the scorer's table. Pittsburgh having some trouble running some stuff down at this end. Now Krauser calls out a play.
Calls his own number.
Good show by Dornicamp to slow him down. Torrey Morris.
Boy, that was a lifesaver, if any, for Carl Krauser, who wanted to break down the D.
Smith inside again. And I think Torrey Morris is going to get called for the foul. No, it's going to be Demetrius helping out again, picking up his second. But Craig Smith is having his way with Pittsburgh right now.
And enough of having his way to the point where Shavon Troutman back at the scorer's table, he just walks Mark McCarroll into the paint right there. Look at McCarroll have to retreat. There's not a whole lot you can do with that, especially if you don't have the weight or the strength to be able to stand up to Craig Smith.
And again, every point that Smith has scored came with Troutman out of the game.
Now, the problem with giving Chevy Troutman a rest, and I know what Jamie Dixon was doing, recognizing that he had a bit of a cushion, so he wants to be able to rest his big guy. Problem is, you now get Craig Smith off on a roll.
He's got their last 8 points, and the Eagles are back within 2 of the top seed Pittsburgh as we create more memories at the Big East Championship. Never mind bubble anymore. You got to think they're in now, and they're looking at a decent seed the way they're playing basketball right now. We got folks rolling into the city for a good Friday night doubleheader here at Madison Square Garden, the Big East Championship. This is semifinal number 1. Pittsburgh against Boston College, and Craig Smith, we've seen him really assert himself the last few minutes. He's going to get what should be a brief rest, but Len, the last 2 or 3 minutes, he changed the complexion of the entire game.
Well, absolutely, and playing against Mark McCarroll, he started to go on a tear, and that's given him great confidence. Shavon Troutman had taken that confidence away from him, and it's going to make it more difficult for Troutman to guard him as time goes on, because he's now gotten his confidence back.
We'll see how long Smith stays out of the game. Demetrius getting some fairly heavy minutes here in the first half for Pittsburgh. Julius Page is out of the game right now. Offensive foul, Carl Krauser. That will be his first. Tomorrow, Championship Week presented by 7-Up continues with the games on both networks on ESPN at 1:30 Eastern. It's Georgia Tech, a 1-point winner over Carolina today. Taking on Duke in an ACC semifinal on ESPN2. Texas Tech, which knocked off Colorado today against Oklahoma State. Championship Week presented by 7-Up on ESPN and ESPN2. Dudley inside. Agbai there, and Boston College has tied the game.
And there you see Boston College basketball in this tournament and over the last several games. It's all about getting a good look and then having the weak side boards covered.
Old style Big East basketball. Pound it inside and try to get as close to the rim as you can.
In Boston College, the second defensive sequence, they have been in the 2-3 zone.
Nice drive by Krauser.
That's what Carl Krauser tried to do the last time. It was called for an offensive foul as he drove on the top of that zone. This time he knifes his way in.
Krauser with 6. Jerron Brown knocks it away. Brown gets it back. 4 on 2. And Brown is fouled.
Boy, what savvy by Jerron Brown. He read that play. and was able to position himself to knock the ball away. Take a look at the pass from Dornicamp. Here comes Brown right there. He saw what was going on. He just waited for his moment. And then in transition, surveying the situation, recognizing Dornicamp was committing, and just drew that foul.
Well, Jerron Brown recruited by Rick Pitino to play at Kentucky back 6-7 years ago. That's when Pitino left. So Brown went to prep school for a year, then came to Pittsburgh. He is one of the many experienced older players on this Pittsburgh team. You wonder why they don't get rattled? These guys are men.
Well, it's all about poise right now, and that level of chronological maturity, if you will, certainly serves Pittsburgh well. It doesn't always translate into basketball experience, but, you know, you got to mix real life into this game. Understand, you know, when you have to put it on and when you have to remain under poise.
The winningest class in Pittsburgh history. They've gone to the Sweet 16 each of the last 2 years. Dudley with a nice little pump fake there, and he draws the foul. BC's done a very effective job. Not only their inside guys, Len, but their guards getting the ball inside.
Well, again, and you talk about experience and chronological age. The fact that Jared Dudley is just a freshman, he still exhibits the understanding of this game of a senior. You know, you talk to Al Skinner, you talk to the assistant coaches, and this young man really plays way beyond his years. You know, he'll pick his spots, a little pump fake inside, never really rushes anything, always under poise, and as you mentioned before, always in the right place on the offensive glass.
And Len, really kind of a fluke that he's even playing for BC. They knew they were going to lose Troy Bell, a great player to graduation. Then Ryan Sidney left the program for personal reasons. Andrew Bryant, academic problems. And they had a recruit from the state of Minnesota who decided not to come. So all of a sudden in August, Al Skinner had a couple of scholarships and didn't know what to do with them. They had been tracking Dudley's progress, but Dudley was going to go to prep school. But again, Al Skinner and Bill Cohen, one of the assistants, made contact with him. They showed him some video of the style of play that BC plays. And Dudley said, yeah, I can work with that. That's my kind of basketball. And that's how Dudley wound up at BC.
And Chris Taft finally understanding that you gain possession. Stop trying to tip the ball. Gain possession and explode up. There's nobody on that floor that can contest him.
See how long Craig Smith stays on the bench for BC. They're hanging around within 3 of Pitt. And we've got another call going against Pittsburgh. It'll be Julius Page. First on Page, 7th on the team. BC to the line.
And again, Craig Smith frustrated by Siobhan Troutman early. You look at Troutman right there helping out on Jared Dudley, but then Mark McCarroll comes in, and McCarroll's a pretty good defender, but he doesn't have the weight, the strength to be able to deal with Smith inside and allow Smith to get off and go on a roll. After he did that, obviously Al Skinner wants to give him a rest, knowing that Siobhan Troutman was rested, so that they both can go out there and battle on full tanks.
No foul trouble for Smith. Doesn't have any fouls, so Al Skinner just giving him a breather.
Well, he's standing right next to him. He's about to point to him and tell him, time to go, brother.
Smith doing a little hollering from the bench until he can get back onto the floor. Starting point guard Hinnon. A couple of quick fouls. Smith on the bench for a few minutes. Yet Boston College is within a point of the heavyweight, or one of the heavyweights of the Big East, the regular season champion Pitt Panthers, the defending tournament champs as well.
And again, the reason Al Skinner is keeping Smith on the bench, he recognizes this is the 3rd game that he's got to be able to keep the legs. Now he puts them back in, but he's got to keep the legs fresh. This is about managing the ability of guys to go out there and play at 100%.
As deserving as Jamie Dixon was of Big East Coach of the Year, everybody, or a lot of people, would have loved to see maybe Al Skinner be able to split that award with him, given the job that Skinner has done. Nobody thought that Boston College would have 23 wins and to be a surefire NCAA tournament team at this point, except maybe the guys within the room. They had a feeling early in the season that this was a special group, but being so young, nobody knew what to expect. Krause pushing off again with that off arm. The floater by Brown. Rebound Watson. BC looking to run. Jumper from the wing, not there for Dudley. Out of bounds to BC as we bring Doris Burke back in. Doris?
Well, guys, last night, the Memphis Grizz rookie Troy Bell, and former Big East Player of the Year, called his teammates, in particular Jermaine Watson, in the locker room to congratulate them. He was taking some flack from the Memphis Grizzlies. They didn't think they could win the game, but his message for tonight: make sure you match the physical nature of the way Pittsburgh plays thus far. It's been good advice and well taken, guys.
Haley for three. And Taft comes down with a rebound. Sure is good advice, Doris. And again, BC, maybe more than any other team in the Big East, not afraid to play Pittsburgh's physical style of basketball.
And you're talking about the advice coming from one of Boston College's finest, and Troy Bell, player of the year in the Big East a couple years ago. Absolutely tremendous talent. That was one of those diamonds in the rough that Al Skinner found.
Steve Haley just a blur on his way down the court, banks it in, and the underdog Eagles have the lead late in the first half.
And once Boston College went to that zone, it's really taken its toll on Pittsburgh's offensive set. It's made them take a little more time. It's kept them out of the paint for the most part. And it's just been a question of getting Chris Taft in position for offensive rebounding, which has been very difficult with the focus on blocking him out.
A block the call on Watson. 6th team foul, so no free throws yet. 3:33 to go here in the first half. Boston College there, Chris. Well, boy, Oklahoma really needs that one. Texas struggling a little bit here at the wrong time of the season. Boston College sure is not struggling. They are 10-1 in their last 11 games, the 5 seed coming into the tournament. So, Len, this is their 3rd game in as many days. Pittsburgh got a bye on day 1, so this is just their 2nd game in as many days.
And that's why Al Skinner really took some time and allowed Craig Smith to gather himself on the bench, trying to manage his legs and manage that exhaustion that will surely set in if he plays too many minutes. The fortunate thing for Boston College is that they're hanging close, actually have the lead right now, so it gives Al Skinner the luxury of resting his guys.
And again, they're confident, playing as well as they have all season, and they were leading Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh with 3.5 minutes to go a couple of months ago before losing. Now a turnover by Taft. Here comes Watson. Spinning, hitting, BC by 3.
Well, excellent job by Jermaine Watson in that zone to anticipate Taft's pass. And then he goes coast to coast.
They got some big bodies up front, and they've got some athletes in the backcourt.
See, what Pittsburgh's failure is that they're standing around a little bit too much. You've got to also be able to cut inside that top line of guys right now, get past them to get better shots.
Nice look away by Krauser, but he misses the shot. Jerron Brown somehow came out of there for the rebound, and he'll go to the line.
Look at Jermaine Watson right there. Just anticipate, watch the eyes like a free safety would watch a quarterback's eyes. And then with a little bit of jiggy in the paint right there, shake and bake, spin. Still high percentage shots.
Yeah. Second foul on Agbai. Dornicamp back into the game. Agbai will go out. So they're squeezing a few minutes here and there out of Dornicamp, either for Agbai or Smith. Taft goes out for Pittsburgh.
And Pittsburgh's following the same routine. Mark McCarroll is that pivotal guy. The same with Dornicamp, can play the power forward as well as the center positions. And just buying some time, buying some rest for the key guys up front.
And again, the BC players, the BC coaches welcome the physical nature of the game they know they're going to get against Pittsburgh. Watson in great position, but he missed a little turnaround.
Yeah, but I tell you what, Julius Page had pretty good position as well. He didn't allow Watson to make any progress to the basket. And that's one of the things about Julius Page. You talk about his athleticism, but the most underrated aspect of his game is that he's a lockdown defensive player.
This is the end of the floor right now where Pittsburgh is struggling, but BC's holding the opposition to 52 points per game the last 6. Page, a decent look in the corner. Air ball on the 3. He's gone from being mostly a slasher to more of a shooter, and this year not with great results. You talked about the great defense, but at the offensive end, it's been a bit of a struggle for him this year. Here's Smith. Quiet again since Troutman got back into the game. He did all of his damage when McCarroll was on the floor in place of Troutman. Wow, what a tough-looking shot there by Haley. Rebound underneath, and a foul.
Well, once again, even though Siobhan Troutman's guarding Craig Smith, Mark McCarroll got manhandled under the boards.
Mark McCarroll picks up the foul for Pittsburgh. Coming up on the 7-Up halftime report with Chris and Digger. A thriller between Georgia Tech and North Carolina, the Red River rivalry. You saw highlights of that already, and a big game in the Conference USA between St. Louis and Cincinnati. St. Louis is one of those teams, like Villanova, here in this tournament. I mean, somebody's got to knock them off, or they're going to win a tournament and steal a bid from somebody who thinks they're getting in.
And St. Louis is one of those teams, kind of like Boston College. They're not going to score a lot of points, very disciplined, but it all begins with defense. And those are the teams that are built to go through 3 and 4 days of tournaments.
Jamie Dixon, first-year head coach of the Panthers, hollering out a play to Carl Krauser. Pittsburgh not looking very comfortable at all at the offensive end.
And it's this 2-3 zone, once again, that's giving them fits, especially as the ball goes inside, the way everyone on Boston College's defense converges.
Krauser trying to do it himself. Out of bounds to BC. And now Krauser working one of the officials, Reggie Greenwood, a little bit. Later tonight, Championship Week presented by 7-Up. Continues with the games on both networks. Len and I'll have the second semi from right here in New York City. Villanova trying to pull off yet another upset. They'll take on UConn. We still don't know if Okafor is going to play. Then another ACC tournament quarterfinal over on ESPN2. Maryland against Wake Forest. Len, let me ask you about the alma mater. Are the Terps in?
Yes, absolutely.
Connecticut to overtime during the regular season, and that was with Okafor. So don't miss that second game. It figures to be a terrific game as well. We're getting pretty much what we expected out of this game tonight, low scoring. But are you surprised at how BC's been able to impose its will on Pittsburgh at times tonight?
A bit, and I think it's, again, that 2-3 zone. It's really given Pittsburgh fits. Their inability to get in the teeth of that zone. Normally, Pittsburgh, against, say, Syracuse and others, able to pass the ball inside, excellent interior passing, getting people good shots. But Boston College, anticipating very well, has cut off those passing lanes, and they've also given Carl Krauser a difficult time as he tries to penetrate.
Watson trying to post up. He just got a difficult time from Jerron Brown. And now Watson saying, hey, 3 guys are clubbing me down in the paint. Somebody better blow the whistle here. But, I mean, that's a story that's common in Pittsburgh games. But BC's working the Panthers just as hard at the other end.
That's right. They're mirror images right now and how tough they are playing the defense.
Haley cannot save it. Pittsburgh ball.
And that was Carl Krauser right there. About anticipation, reaching for the ball. And again, I talk about playing defense below the waist. Getting their hands down there, working, looking for the ball, deflecting bounce passes.
Big time crowd, as you saw offensively for Pitt. BC getting some good minutes out of Haley here this
half. The interior passing, but you got to catch the ball, Mark.
Watson trying to snake his way down the sideline. Shot clock is turned off. They can hold it here for the final shot if they're aware. And now they're aware.
Boy, nice job by Pittsburgh there trying to get the ball inside. McCarroll just muffed it, but that was an example of the interior passing they haven't been able to do against that zone.
Held ball, and the arrow back to Pittsburgh. So a missed opportunity for BC. Instead of maybe adding a couple of points, now they might give up a couple of points here. Now Skinner knows you got to take advantage of your opportunities against a team like Pitt.
And a freshman point guard. We talk about not so much inexperience showing, but that time Steve Haley, the freshman, didn't really know what to do with it.
Krauser. Tie up the call. Half is over. Jamie Dixon doesn't like it, but BC's got to love it, especially Craig Smith. 10 points, 6 rebounds, a 4-point lead for the Eagles. 7-Up halftime report with Chris Fowler and Digger Phelps, guys.
It's all just a little bit of history repeating.
The top-seeded Pitt Panthers have visions of advancing to the championship game for the 4th year in a row, but they've run into some tough customers. BC looking to pull off the upset. Boston College leading Pittsburgh by 4 as we go to the second half here in New York City. Dan Shulman and Len Elmore with you. Usually at this point I say to you, how does Team X adjust to what Pittsburgh's doing to them? How does Pittsburgh adjust to what Boston College has done to them?
Well, what Boston College has done to them is played a very tight 2-3 zone, taking away the interior passing that Pittsburgh thrives on. They're going to have to maybe make some shots from the outside, loosen up that zone, and get some opportunities to go back into their big guys. But BC, terrific, very aggressive to the basket. The key to this game is the free throw line. Boston College shooting 30%, but that 12 for 12 from the line has really helped their cause.
BC did not hit a single three-pointer in the win over Syracuse yesterday, have not hit a three-pointer in the first half today. If you add up how far all 7 of their made baskets were from the rim, I don't think you'd get to the three-point line. They've got a layup here, a layup there. They're getting the ball inside, getting some decent looks, and playing some tough D.
But it's all about the Boston College focus on the interior. You know, they don't mind if they don't make any jump shots as long as they're able to execute getting the ball inside. Look at Krauser.
Couldn't execute there. Krauser on the steal. Craig Smith with a block, and Siobhan Troutman alertly running the floor.
And Jamie Dixon, rightly so, jumps up to the officials. It should have been goaltending.
Panthers back within 2. You saw that Pittsburgh had just a single point in the last 5 minutes and 45 seconds of the first half. Connecticut and Villanova are second semifinal. Right after this game, right here on ESPN tonight. Still waiting for word on whether Okafor will play. It's expected to be a game-time decision. Turnover by BC. 2 trips, 2 turnovers. Let's go to Doris.
Dan, I talked to Jamie Dixon on his way out of the locker room. He did not seem very pleased. I asked him about facing this Boston College zone. He simply said, we're fine. We just need to stay aggressive. Boston College is pleased. They want to continue to be active on the boards. And they loved what the guards did rebounding the basketball, guys.
Well, Doris, the Pittsburgh coaches weren't thrilled with their performance as Taft gets a great feed from Brown to tie the game. They weren't thrilled with their performance yesterday, although they beat Virginia Tech by 13. So this is the second game in a row where things have not gone as planned.
Well, first time in the sequence against that zone, Pittsburgh able to execute on the interior passing, getting it to Jerron Brown in that short corner.
Now the Pitt fans, the Oakland Zoo, starting to make a little noise. Didn't have a lot to cheer about in the first half. Dudley underneath, surrounded, triple teamed. Loose ball to Hinnant. Spent most of the first half on the bench in foul trouble. Dudley knocks it down. That is the first shot outside of 10 feet that the Eagles have hit in yesterday over Syracuse, and they're leading tonight over Pitt. Troutman blocked from behind, and then Taft is fouled, and we're going to have some battles underneath.
And again, in order to attack this 2-3 zone, Pittsburgh is going to have to be able to get the ball. And watch Jerron Brown right here. He's going to make that quick look as the defense comes over. You see Agbai step over, commit, and then Chris Taft goes exactly where he should, right in front of the glass.
At the line for Pittsburgh, the Rookie of the Year in the Big East, Chris Taft, who missed all 6 of his free throws in the win over Virginia Tech yesterday. And he's got some kind of funny spin on that foul shot. I don't know how he does that.
Well, he's made some this year, but not to the extent that he could if he was able to get a rotation that's kind of end over end where the seams just roll over. His shot, the seams kind of roll side to side.
Looks like a slider. 55% on the season.
That's much better, and you could see that the seams did go over and over themselves.
1 of 2. Pitt back within a point. A lot on the line for Pittsburgh. They would love to defend their Big East tournament championship that they won last year. As we go back to Chris Taft at the other end, take another look. What do you want to call it? Bowling ball, slider, knuckleball? What is it?
Well, that was actually much better. You can see it go end over end. The first one went side to side.
Krauser bumping hard with Agbai out on the perimeter. Dudley, they'll leave him alone. Smith with a rebound over Troutman, and the quick putback off the glass.
Well, you talk about a guy with an extraordinary touch to be as strong as he is. That's a difficult shot. But he did use the backboard, which is the fundamental sound way to be able to attack from that spot.
A dozen for Craig Smith. BC still leading. The other thing at stake for Pittsburgh is if they could win this tournament, they've got a legitimate chance to be a #1 seed. Taft lays it in. Now, this year, you and I agree that may not be as important as it normally is because of the parity. But I think for Pittsburgh to have earned a #1 seed, it's another big-time statement about how far the Panthers have come in the last few years.
Absolutely. It's a statement about the progress of this program and about the dominance of this program.
Troutman with a steal. 3-on-2 Pitt. Krauser. And the Panthers lead.
We talked about Pittsburgh and their ability on defense to just make you give them the ball and turn it over. And now they're demonstrating an ability to convert on the other end. You know, Pittsburgh, we talk about them, sometimes they play ugly, but they always play well enough to beat you.
Dudley has it slapped away. Troutman's got it again. Krauser. And Page comes up with a loose ball.
And like the senior should, he brings it out, gets a reset.
Now Pittsburgh will slow it down, run their half-court offense. 4 minutes into the second half, and Pitt's got a battle on their hands. Page. First 2 of the night for Page. Pittsburgh by 3 as he shows some glimpses of his well-known athleticism. Smith takes a bump and draws the foul. So Pittsburgh playing better, forcing turnovers and converting at the other end as they move up by 3. Siobhan Troutman leading the break and getting it done for Pitt.
Welcome back to the world's most famous arena. Big East semifinal action here inside Madison Square Garden. And if you can't be here with us, the best way to watch this basketball game is in ESPN's high-definition service. Available on ESPN HD. The drama of NCAA basketball and the widescreen clarity of high definition is something you won't want to miss. 11 more basketball games coming your way on ESPN's high-definition service this month. It's all sponsored by Philips and Best Buy. And Len and Dan, I'm certain both of you have those high-def TVs.
Well, it sure adds a lot to the game, Doris. There's no disputing that. I mean, when you see them leaving the break, sometimes you can only see the guy in the middle, then you get your HD, and now you can see he's got a guy on the right, he's got a guy on the left, he's got a couple of options there. Siobhan Troutman leaving the break a couple of times already this half for Pittsburgh, as you saw 5 steals already for Troutman, who, given the nature of this game, Len, and Craig Smith's presence, Troutman might be the most indispensable Panther tonight.
Well, he knows how to play defense. Those 5 steals are a tribute to his ability to move his feet and get himself in position for the steals.
See how this young BC team responds to a nice start to the second half by Pittsburgh, outscoring the Eagles 11-4 so far in the second half.
And you look at how Pittsburgh likes to jam those cutters in the middle, making it very difficult to get an open look. Look at Smith again on the weak side.
Wow. As strong a player as there is in this league, he's got 14, and the Eagles are back within 1.
And Troutman that time made the mistake of forgetting about Craig Smith, just going after the ball rather than blocking his man off the glass.
At the other end, they're not on each other. Smith is guarding Taft, and Agbai is guarding Troutman.
And Boston College is now in man-to-man. They had to get out of that 2-3 because Pittsburgh began to solve it.
Pittsburgh patient as always. Krauser for 3. Rebound to Smith. Once he wraps it up, it's over.
Hey, the ball is lost once he wraps it up.
He can shoot a little bit from the outside, too. He's first and foremost a post player, but they leave him open. He'll take it. Marshall left open. Rebound, Troutman.
Good reset again by Carl Krauser. This is how you build leads. You don't force it. You try to execute your half-court set, particularly against a man-to-man. The eyes should light up for a guy like Chris Taft, particularly.
Taft having trouble catching the ball again. He was wide open near the free throw line. Shot clock down to 7. Krauser. Well defended by the Eagles. They sniff that out. And BC can reclaim the lead. They go to their money man inside. Smith leaves it a little bit short. Loose ball back to the Eagles in a fresh 35. And now Smith gets all tangled up on the floor with Krauser, and Krauser gets charged with a foul.
Carl Krauser has got to keep his emotions in check. You know, here he is right now going after the ball. Two guys going tough, and Krauser starts to grab, and it's a good call by the official, Reggie Greenwood. You know, it was the first grab, and then they both realized what's going on, but Carl, unfortunately, got caught.
Well, the middleweight better stop picking on the heavyweight. Heavyweight did a good job acting a little bit, too, but I agree with you. Good call. Another chance for BC to take the lead again. Blocked shot. Put back. No for Marshall. Oh, what a missed opportunity there.
Well, Sean Marshall is a very talented freshman, but he has a tendency to be almost too high octane and rush things. Got a good look there, missed it, follows the shot, and then instead of just going straight to the front of the rim, he tried to spin it off. He had plenty of time to go up strong and take the foul. Look at the battle inside with Smith and Troutman trying to get position.
Well, we got a mismatch with Taft being covered by Hinnant right now. Agbaye is going to try to get back over there and switch back. Can't do it.
He's open now by himself. No one's there.
They got to get the ball to Taft. There they go.
Well, he's got to recognize it.
Troutman misses the three. Taft held off. And Taft called for going over the bag. So Pittsburgh had a great chance there to get a good look and couldn't find one.
Well, that was excellent recovery by Craig Smith to find Taft when the shot was taken and block him out.
First on Taft. Boston College already with wins over Georgetown and Syracuse, and now they've got a lead on Pittsburgh. 34-33 BC. Trying to pull off the upset and advance to the championship game against the winner of Connecticut and Villanova, which is our second semifinal tonight right here on ESPN.
And Boston College back in the zone right now. The way you tell is when you send a cutter through, the player in his area doesn't follow him. He leaves him for someone else.
Brown. And he's fouled. Jerron Brown has had more success against the BC zone than any other Panther here tonight. Well, don't forget Sunday, Allen Iverson and the Sixers. They're trying to stay alive in the Eastern Conference playoff hunt. They take on the Wallaces and the Pistons Sunday at 12:30 Eastern, then at 3:30 Eastern. Some will see the Spurs against the Kings. Others will see the Knicks and the Bucks. An NBA Sunday doubleheader beginning at 12:30 on ABC, home of the NBA Finals. They're going to miss this guy when he's gone, Len. Jerron Brown's had a terrific, terrific career for Pittsburgh.
And he's also had a terrific and profound impact on the younger players on this team. You know, Jerron Brown, very quiet. You see him around, you know, very respectful. But at the end of the day, you know he's talking to young guys. And when Chris Taft was awarded the Big East Rookie of the Year award, the first person he thanked was Jerron Brown for his leadership and his guidance throughout this season. He thinks an awful lot of that senior.
Even though they lost Brandon Knight, Donatas Sabatskis, and Ontario Lett from last year, the emergence of Krauser, the improvement of McCarroll, and the arrival of Taft have offset those losses, and Pittsburgh is just as dangerous a team this year as they were last year when they won the Big East tournament and went to the Sweet 16. Another in-close look for the Eagles. Dudley can't finish, and now Brown is hurt. Jerron Brown hobbling, injured, it looks like his left ankle, as Pittsburgh is forced to call a timeout. Just as we talk about how valuable he is to Pittsburgh, he comes up hobbling. We'll check out Brown's status and look at potential #1 seeds in the big dance.
Well, a tough one in the crowd. You watch him go up for the rebound. He comes down with it, but his foot comes down right there. And that's a tough thing to deal with, having done that a few times. Feel like it just totally comes out of joint right there.
Ooh.
And he's taped, and you saw him getting it retaped, probably a little bit tighter.
Yuri Demetrius will replace him in the Pittsburgh lineup. The Panthers up 1, trying to advance to the championship game for the 4th consecutive year. Syracuse, by the way, went to the championship game 5 consecutive years back in the late 80s. That's the longest streak in Big East history.
Well, this is a matchup right now where, again, you're playing people in your territory, playing them man-to-man, but you let them go as they cut through, and it's confusing Pittsburgh right now.
Demetrius with a miss as the shot clock wound down, and the Eagles can take the lead again 9 minutes into the second half. Watson has it knocked away. Back comes Krauser one-on-one with Hinnant. Look at him go.
Terrific play by Carl Krauser in the open floor, but it all begins with defense for Pittsburgh.
Craig Smith, and a block is the call on Chevy Troutman, his third. Unpopular call for the Pittsburgh fans.
That's his third personal. The team scored.
So number 3 on Troutman. Remember, in 2 minutes in the first half when Troutman went out, Craig Smith scored 8 points. Good decision by Agbai there. Had he touched that ball and then gone over the timeline, it would have been a turnover.
You bring your whistle? That's a good call.
You can see he thought about it, and then he realized. Watson finds the cutting Agbai.
And again, Mark McCarroll is the guy that's getting victimized. That's the patience of Boston College. They love to use those flex cuts. They'll pin down and allow guys to go up and over. They'll also screen across, and that kind of movement really puts a lot of pressure on the defense.
Krauser driving again. Page, they close out on him in a hurry. Now Krauser. Will he try to go one-on-one again? Using the screen from McCarroll. McCarroll launches the 3. Rebound Boston College, holding their own on the glass with Pitt. Again, the first look is an inside look. Smith has it taken away by Troutman. That should be his 6th steal of the night. At the other end, Page elevates and hits.
And you just can't say it enough about Pittsburgh. Their defense triggers the offense. In transition, after the steal, Craig Smith had 3 guys converge on him, and that's what created the turnover.
Deron Brown's ready to check back in. Agbai lost the handle on the way up. No reset of the shot clock. Boy, this is frantic right now. Bodies everywhere. Craig Smith scores to bring the Eagles back within 1. And now Pat Driscoll, one of the officials, wants to just settle things down a little bit and make sure this doesn't get carried away.
Well, unfortunately, this is the byproduct of physical play. Tempers start to rise when you know what's on the line. And a good job by the officials to step in between and get control of it right away, provide a cooling off period. Both of these teams have quality guys in this team. There are no bullies out here. There are no hotheads out here. But you get caught up in the moment, and you have to keep your emotions in check.
Craig Smith, his 3rd double-double in as many days, Len. 16 points and 10 rebounds already.
Well, I'm so happy America's getting a chance to see what we've had a chance to see throughout the last 2 seasons, how a guy like Craig Smith able to dominate.
Corey Morris slips inside. Hard to do when you're 280 pounds. Nice move to the rim. Now Dudley on the wing, quiet by his standards tonight. If that's Troutman, it's his 4th. Let's see. John Cowell, yes. Siobhan Troutman picked up his 4th. We've got some news on our 2nd game tonight. Let's go to Doris Burke.
Well, Dan, I just heard from Kyle Muncie, the sports information contact from the University of Connecticut, that Emeka Okafor will not play tonight. They do not yet know whether he'll be in street clothes, but he is not going to play, Dan.
All right, Doris, thank you very much. He didn't play last night as they beat Notre Dame. So Connecticut figures to have its hands full with a very confident Villanova team, just like Pittsburgh has its hands full with BC, and Troutman just picked up his 4th. Boston College by 3 in semifinal number 1 of the Big East Championship. Championship week presented by 7-Up continues with the games on ESPN and ESPN2 later on tonight. Our 2nd semifinal is Villanova and Connecticut, and you just heard Doris Burke tell you Emeka Okafor will not play tonight for the Huskies. You can see that game right after this one in ESPN HD. Over on ESPN2, a big game in the ACC quarterfinal matchup between Maryland and Wake Forest. Well, so no Okafor. How does that affect the game tonight against Villanova?
Well, I mean, it's going to be no different than last night as far as UConn is concerned. They're still going to rely heavily on the young guys, Boone and Villanueva particularly. Villanova they're just going to have to continue to play the way they've been playing. You know, they've got Jason Frazier now at a point where he's very confident, and inside he could prove to be an awful lot of a challenge for the young players on the front line for Villanova.
Troutman on the bench with 4 fouls. Craig Smith scores again. He's got 18. How does Pittsburgh slow down Craig Smith right now?
Well, now they're going to have to start sending guys, and they have a bit of a luxury because Boston College hasn't proven that they can hit from the outside.
Count that basket. Come on, a little smile, Mr. Krauser, after that shot goes in.
Now, Carl's all about business right here as he tries one of those circus shots. I don't even think he saw the rim on that one.
A foul on Hinnon, his third. Krauser to the line.
Well, they call Kyle Krauser Black Magic from his exploits in the Rucker tournament here in New York City, the playground legend. And he pulled a little bit of a trick out of his bag that time.
Sure did. Gives the Panthers a 3-point lead. Their biggest concern, though, may be at the other end of the floor. Craig Smith is in a groove. One of the strongest players in the conference, Torrey Morris, a 6'10", 280-pound senior. Let's see if he can handle Smith. Stolen by Jerron Brown. Back into the game with the bad ankle. He scores and will go to the line. What a competitor.
Well, that's all hard right there. You're going to take a look at Jerron Brown right here. He's going to step up, just shoot the gap. That's what that is. And even with the bad ankle, Nate Dornekamp can't catch up with him.
Some guys just have a knack for making the big play when it matters the most, and that's been Jerron Brown's MO in his entire career. Rebound to Dornekamp. Pittsburgh by 5. Troutman on the bench with foul trouble.
And now you got Chris Taft on Craig Smith. It's all about getting a strong body on him, holding your ground, and hope that your help comes. Now, you know, and as I mentioned, Pittsburgh has the luxury right now. They have to force Boston College to shoot the ball from outside. There's a big mistake by Chris Taft. Hold your ground, don't reach.
Foul on Taft. 5-point lead for Pittsburgh. With an update, let's go back to the studio and join Chris Fowler. Between Pittsburgh and Boston College, a very physical game. Neither team backing down from the other, but now with Siobhan Troutman on the bench with 4 fouls, BC's trying to get the ball inside to Craig Smith any way they can.
Well, Pittsburgh has to recognize that you got to play good position defense, as Chris Taft is doing right there. But Boston College has yet to prove that they can shoot a jumper. So when the ball goes outside, you've got to peel back, Jerron Brown. You've got to back off. You've got to step into that paint and make Craig Smith give up the ball. Don't leave Chris Taft naked as you did there and wind up with a foul.
Smith with 18 of BC's 40 points. And you know the ball's going into him every single chance the Eagles get, especially with Troutman on the bench.
See, look, they're leaving Taft by himself, and he's going to get burned.
How good is this guy? How underrated nationally is Craig Smith?
I'll tell you what, America's getting a chance to see how good he is. And again, Chris Taft is a pretty good defensive player, but he's no match at this point in time for Craig Smith.
And you know, Jamie Dixon is just dying to put Siobhan Troutman back into the game, but he's got 4 fouls.
And I'm still wondering, again, why Pittsburgh is so spread and so extended on their defense. Boston College has been yet to prove that they can hit a jump shot.
Haven't hit a 3 in 2 games. McCarroll, 2 on the shot clock. Oh, what a shot.
Big Mark McCarroll has come up big before for Pittsburgh. Ability to hit that 3. That's why he's the first guy off the bench. He gives them extraordinary range.
What a screen by Dornekamp. He just laid the lumber on Carl Krauser. Stolen by Page. Taft backing down Dornekamp. Left hand, no. McCarroll. Rebound, Smith. Al Skinner, calm as always on the BC bench, and his players reflect that calm. He never gets too wound up, neither do they. Dudley travels.
That time, the freshman a little bit out of control. And that's what Al is saying. Be strong with the ball.
He's going to bring his fifth-year senior, Yuka Agbai, back into the game. Nate Dornekamp will check out.
Well, the reason for Agbai coming back in the game, not only is he a senior with experience, he's got the ability to hit that jump shot from the free throw line, as well as post up down low. Dornekamp had a couple of opportunities at the free throw line down low, but never made himself a threat. So Al's got to insert a guy who might be able to execute.
BC 23-8. They know they're going to the NCAA tournament already. Trying to win their third Big East championship if they could win tonight and then again tomorrow. Pittsburgh trying to defend their Big East tournament championship from a year ago and potentially move closer to a #1 seed. Watson all the way. No! But the follow is there for Dudley, a great offensive rebounder.
And Carl Krauser really dejected. He knows that he muffed that one. He wanted to throw a pass, tried to pull it back, and lost the handle. And those are costly mistakes.
Timeout, Jamie Dixon, Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh calls timeout. That's a 30-second timeout for the Panthers. 30. They have one.
BC back within 4 after the steal and the layup.
And you look at Krauser right here. He wanted to throw a pass. See, that's why you don't throw a pass off the bounce. You got to have both hands on it so you can bring it back. And here on the break, a nice job by Jermaine Watson on the fake and converting that. And the follow is good by Dudley. But since Troutman has been out, Craig Smith has really had his way down low. And I'm surprised that he hasn't seen more company out there. Here he is isolated with Morris all by himself. Torrey Morris in a world of hurt. And here, Chris Taft isolated with Craig Smith, reaches and fouls. And once again, Taft isolated. You just don't want to be alone with this guy in the paint.
Well, for those of you who may not have seen a whole lot of Craig Smith before, it's not like he's playing out of his mind tonight. This is Craig Smith. He always plays like this. First team All Big East. And he's doing this against maybe definitely the most physical team in the league. But having his way, especially with Troutman on the bench with 4 fouls. Nice step in by Krauser. Jerron Brown there to catch the air ball. Shot clock does not reset. Krauser leaning in. Eagles down 4 with the ball. 5 of the 8 games in the first 2 days of this tournament were decided by 3 points or less. We may have another one on our hands tonight. And now Troutman is getting ready to come back in.
And that's the post-up situation that Dornekamp had, but wasn't able to execute. Al Skinner puts Agbai in, and he's the guy that knows how to work on the block. Siobhan Troutman back in the ball game. Jamie Dixon recognizes he's got no time to waste.
McCarroll just picked up his third. Troutman will check back in all likelihood for McCarroll. Craig Smith getting everybody in foul trouble tonight, although right now it is Yuka Agbai at the line for BC.
Number 2, Siobhan Troutman is back in Pittsburgh. He replaces Paul.
Al Skinner's team has had a phenomenal year, exceeded all expectations after the loss of a number of players from last year, including their best player, Troy Bell, to graduation. And they're showing some people some things here in New York this week. Connecticut Villanova, our second semifinal tonight here on ESPN. And if you missed Doris Burke's report a few minutes ago, Emeka Okafor will not play again tonight. Page, the pull-up 3. Troutman taps it to Taft.
And boy, Boston College really dodged one that time. Taft was fouled, still caught the ball and exploded. Unlike early in the game when he kept trying to tip it, he's now gathering possession and using his size.
Taft right now is defending Smith out of bounds to BC, and that will take us to a timeout. Pittsburgh 3:46 away from advancing to the championship game of the Big East tournament for the 4th year in a row. But the Eagles aren't ready to concede anything just yet, in spite of this great play by the big guys. And in ESPN HD, but we've still got a ways to go here in semifinal number 1. It has been a battle for Pittsburgh from the get-go tonight, and they're not in the clear yet.
Again, look for Boston College to continue to work, trying to show you different sets, keep Craig Smith on the move so he can get isolated in that paint for a quick hitter, and he makes a quick move before the double team comes.
Remember Troutman with 4 fouls for Pittsburgh.
And look at Troutman cheating over to Smith, trying to deter that pass inside. See how he continues to go into that paint.
Watson, after trying to get the ball into Smith, realized he couldn't and settles, if you will, for a three. The first three-pointer that Boston College has made, not only tonight, they didn't make one yesterday either.
And that's the risk that you take when you're trying to help out on Craig Smith, collapsing on him.
Ooh, Smith got a finger on that ball, so it stays with Pittsburgh.
And I tell you what, if I'm Jamie Dixon, I'd do it again.
Yeah.
You know, still trying to get the ball inside. The help side continues to stay there. Watson's got no other choice. But you got to take your chances. As you said, they haven't made one in a dog's day.
Troutman, what hands?
He's the perpetual motion machine. Always moving, always trying to get position on that weak side glass. Doesn't really think about his own shot unless it's off the board.
Troutman on Agbai. Taft defending Smith. Haley turns the corner and gets it. Now the guards are stepping up at the offensive end.
Well, that was a breakdown on the Pittsburgh defense. Chris Taft, not a good job of stepping out, allowing Haley to split that D.
Yet another terrific game here at the Big East Championship. We've had a number of them over the last couple of days. Page. And Craig Smith is going to be called for the foul. Just his second.
Take a look at the step out. See how Chris Taft really never stays with Haley. Once he steps out, he's got to stay. He just gets in the way and allows Haley to split the D and go right down the heart of it. And here's where experience counts. Down in a stretch situation, I mentioned before, Jerron Brown and Julius Page in particular, they've been here many times. Here's where a little deja vu always helps.
BC, a much younger team. Shot clock down to 10. Krauser to the elbow. Tough kid who makes tough shots at big moments.
A much better job by Taft that time on the step out.
Dudley runs down the loose ball. Possession game, less than a minute and a half to go. Smith. Pittsburgh has it. And now Krauser is wisely going to use as much clock as he can.
Calling for some type of motion right now. You can expect, though, if there's no cutter that's wide open, shot clock goes down. Krauser's the one that's going to be the catalyst, the breakdown guy.
There he goes. A deep three, and he's fouled. Can you believe that?
Talk about the experience of Pittsburgh, but it's the lack of experience by freshman Steve Haley right now. You don't want to get that close in this situation. You force them into taking a questionable shot, and now you bail them out by fouling a three-point shooter.
And although Pittsburgh has struggled at times as a team shooting free throws this year, Krauser is the best they have, 78%.
That's what it's about, having been in pressure situations. Pittsburgh fully understanding of this. Steve Haley in his first year never seen anything like this, and just didn't have the defensive discipline to lay off.
Matero in for Taft for Pitt.
Get a smaller lineup in here right now. They're looking to probably apply some pressure. Make sure Boston College can't get a free pass to the hoop.
Kid from the Bronx is having himself a good time right now. Largest lead of the game. And a timeout taken by Boston College. So Pittsburgh now up by 7. If they can advance and if they can win tomorrow night and win the Big East Championship, they will certainly be among those schools considered for a #1 seed. But it speaks to the parity that we've had this season, Len, that it's impossible to really nail down any #1 seeds right now.
Well, you look at these teams, all formidable, all deserving. But the longer Pittsburgh goes in this conference tournament, Mississippi State, Kentucky, unfortunately one of them is going to drop out of the mix because they both can't win the SEC. Obviously Duke and Stanford, you know, these teams, the longer they go, the more they're in play. Oklahoma State as well. Some of those teams may go down, and that may open the door once again for St. Joe's to be considered.
More
in my mind.
More great championship week action presented by 7-Up coming up tonight on both networks here on ESPN. Len and I will bring you Villanova and Connecticut. No Okafor again tonight. That'll tip off about 20 minutes after the end of this game right here on ESPN. And over on ESPN2, it's Maryland and Wake Forest in an ACC tournament quarterfinal. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. A valiant effort by Boston College tonight, but is it all for naught? Down 7, 46 seconds to go after the 3 free throws by Krauser. Watson trying to do it all himself, and he got fouled. Julius Page gets called for the foul. It'll be 2 shots for Watson.
Well, that's a tough shot for Watson to take, and again, as a defender, you don't want to give him an easy one. You want to contest it, but you have to avoid fouling. You don't want Boston College putting points on the board without time elapsing. And so far they haven't.
Well, if this is going to be the end of the line for BC, they know they've got an NCAA tournament bid wrapped up. 23 wins. We were talking about it during the break, maybe a 6 or a 7 seed. And given how Craig Smith can monopolize the other team defensively with his size and skill, they don't look like a team you want to meet in the first round.
Absolutely not. They're giving notice.
Pittsburgh giving notice. They are ready to defend their Big East championship from a year ago. Timeout, Eagles.
Pittsburgh, excellent job of anticipating the pressure. You take a look just out to Troutman on the wing. 1 bounce. And then you got the Flyers on the other side. Excellent job. Page identifies who's flying on the opposite end. It's Mark McCarroll. And that absolutely came out of the huddle. You know, the last time out, Jamie Dixon drew that play up, anticipating the press.
Pittsburgh 34 seconds away from advancing to the championship game for the 4th year in a row. Syracuse did it 5 years in a row from 1986 through 1990 inclusive. That's the Big East record. Pittsburgh lost 3 years ago to BC when really just the seeds were being planted for this run. They went on to the NIT last year. 2 years ago, they lost to Connecticut in an epic battle, double overtime game that you did. And then last year, they beat Connecticut soundly to win the Big East championship. They're trying to get back to the title game for the 4th year in a row. Watson from the corner. Troutman the rebound, and he's fouled. And it's all but over now.
Well, again, we talk about serving notice. Boston College will be a tough out in the NCAA tournament, primarily because, again, the strength of Craig Smith, the quickness that they have, but more than anything else, you know, these young guys battle you. They don't give up. Obviously, in a game like this, where Pittsburgh was a great deal of experience, an awful lot of depth, they were able to wear Boston College down, able to test them and force them to be able to shoot from outside at a critical time, and also make some big-time steals. You're not going to find too many defensive teams like Pittsburgh in this tournament, and that should bode well for Boston College, having experienced one of the best defensive teams in America.
Craig Smith certainly has done everything that he can do with 20 points and 11 rebounds, now 12 rebounds tonight. Troutman the miss.
You don't want to foul right here.
And Jerron Brown will wait to get fouled. So Pittsburgh on the verge of moving on, and now Carl Krauser can afford to break out a smile.
I tell you, the only dark side of this more than happy cloud here for Pittsburgh is Jerron Brown. I still see him limping back and forth. He's got that ankle twist. It was taped up tightly, but you know what happens overnight. They're going to have to really work on that thing, because overnight there's a tendency to swell, and who knows what his availability will be tomorrow.
Left ankle, he turned it, coming down, going up for a rebound, and then coming down awkwardly.
And he is definitely going to be missed if he can't play, and if he can't play 100%, because he is the glue that keeps this team together.
Freshman Taft looking on from the bench. The final score will not indicate how close this game was for most of the night. Similar to the game they played during the regular season at Pittsburgh when BC led with 3.5 minutes to go, only to lose by 10. Watson for three. Watson gets it back. Agbai with the emphatic follow. But it's too little too late for the Eagles despite a great effort here tonight. And now Haley commits the foul. Pittsburgh will advance and await the winner of Connecticut and Villanova, our second semifinal tonight here from New York.
So you see the smiles on the Pittsburgh Panther faces out there. That's probably more relief than happiness right now.
Yeah.
They know they dodged one. It was a very competitive but unfortunately inexperienced Boston College team, and that inexperience showed down the stretch.
And we'll see how Craig Smith and company make out in the NCAA tournament. They were a bubble team that was left on the outside looking in last year. No such worries this season. Haley's three not there, and Pittsburgh will advance. They're heading to the championship game for the fourth consecutive year as they win 62-53 over Boston College. Coming up next, Sports Center, and then right after that, Villanova and Connecticut here on ESPN. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com.